Yeah, you already know what time it is. It's time for another episode of The Draw Step. And today I have the fastest paced, most frustrating to play against deck I have ever come across. This is really, I would say, competitive worthy. You could probably take it to tournaments and win some games with it. It's a deck that my friend built, and almost every time I've played against it, I've lost within the first few turns. So it's incredibly frustrating to play against. And if you build this, your friends are going to hate it, but you're going to love winning with it. So who are we working with? Today we are working with Kess Dissident Mage. But to be real with you, it's kind of just a setup, and I'll explain why in a second. So, Kess Dissident Mage is 4 mana, 1 blue, black, and red. It's a 3/4 flyer, and it says once during each of your turns, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard. If a spell cast this way would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Don't get me wrong. That is a nice effect. That's nice to be able to double up and use some of your spells again. But this deck is all about comboing off and comboing off quickly. So yes, you can use her ability if you need to reuse one of your pieces to accomplish something, but I would say 9 times out of 10 when I have lost to this deck, Commander has never even left the command zone. It's all a gimmick. It's all a lie. Let's dive into it. Starting out, there's only 3 basic lands, 1 of each type. Fair enough. And then there are a heck of a lot of, wait, what did I say? There's 3 basic lands, a lot of non-basic lands. Hopefully I got that right. If not, I look like a clown right now. I sound like a clown right now. Such is life. But yeah, a lot of mana fixing. And there is a deck list in the description below, so you can check out all of that for yourself. Moving on from there, we have our ramp pieces. Again, this deck is focused around trying to be as fast-paced as possible and accomplishing what you're trying to get done as quickly as possible. So, got Fellware Stone, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring. He's a good boy. He understands all decks should have a Soul Ring. Talisman of Indulgence, Dark Ritual, classic, nice, fast mana piece. Mana Geyser, Commander Sphere, Lotus Petal, Talisman of Creativity. You should know most of these. Again, it's really just about boosting the mana. Mox Amber. This guy clearly has put some money into this deck. Jessica's Will, which is on the Game Changers list. And then last and probably the best value here is Chromatic Lantern, because it says lands you control have tapped to add 1 mana of any color. So once you get that out, then you're sure that no matter what color you need, as long as you have a land that you can tap, you have the color that you need. Very nice. Okay, from there's a couple random sundries I want to get through. He does have some destruction pieces. I will note, it's only creature destruction. So if an opponent got an artifact or enchantment onto the battlefield, it's going to be a lot harder for you to deal with. However, don't you worry. We have some ways to keep it from getting to the battlefield, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, go for the throat. 2 mana, destroy target non-artifact creature. Next, Living Death, 5 mana, a lot of words. It says each player exiles all creature cards from his or her graveyard, then sacrifices all creatures he or she controls, then puts all cards he or she exiled that way onto the battlefield. So it's a board wipe, but a very unique board wipe, where if an opponent doesn't have any creatures in their graveyard already, or only 1 or 2, but has like a big token army or a large army built up or something like that, then it's going to affect them a lot worse. They'll get less value back. Last, I have Terminate for 2 mana, black and red. Destroy target creature. It can't be regenerated. So that's how we can deal with some of the threats on the board. But to keep things off the board, we are working with a fat stack of counterspells. First, Exclude. Counter target creature spell and draw a card. Nice, that replaces itself. Rewind for 4 mana, counter target spell, untap up to 4 lands. Complicate. This one is really nice because it can counter target spell or you can cycle it, and when you cycle it, you may counter target spell unless the controller pays 1. So you can still kind of get that effect, especially early in the game where opponents don't have the mana to pay that extra. Then you could probably get a card and still counter the spell. Desertion, a little bit more expensive, but it says counter target spell. If an artifact or creature spell is countered this way, put that card onto the battlefield under your control instead of into its owner's graveyard. So you could just thieve something right away. Muddle the Mixture. I like this one quite a bit. 2 mana, counter target instant or sorcery spell, which is most often the type of spells that you're going to want to counter, but it also has Transmute. So you can pay 3, discard it, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost as this card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So this is a 2-for-1. This is a heavy hitter. This could either be a counter spell or be a tutor for you, depending on what you're needing in that moment. And boy howdy, do we have plenty of tutors. We'll get into that. Cryptic Command for 4 mana. It allows you to choose 2. You can counter target spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control, or draw a card. So even getting like a counter spell and a card draw off it, not bad value for 4 mana right there. Arcane Denial for 2 mana. Counter target spells. Controller may draw 2 cards at the beginning of the next upkeep, and then you draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So, yes, they are getting more card draw, but you also get a bonus and you get to counter their stuff. That's what's important. Counterspell. The OG Counterspell. Forbid for 3 mana. It has a buyback, so you can get it back and use it again, but it counters target spell. This isn't a counter spell, but it is protection for some of your pieces. You got a Lightning Greaves. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. And last, we have Mana Drain. Incredibly expensive card. There are a lot of expensive cards in this deck. If you're looking to build this deck yourself, my goodness, I hope you have a healthy budget, because this boy, he spent money on this deck. Mana Drain, though, is 2 mana to counter target spell in the beginning of the next main phase. Add an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's mana value. You know what I love doing? I love telling my opponents to F off and pay me money for it. Getting to ramp off of countering their stuff is crazy investment, or crazy return on investment. All right, there's a couple other things that I want to cover here before we get into the tutors. Just some interesting pieces he has in the deck in no particular order. We have No Mercy. So I played against this the other week, actually, in one of our live streams. And it's No Mercy, 4 mana. Whenever a creature deals damage to you, destroy it. That is going to make your opponents think twice. It made me think twice about attacking him, because anything that I swung at him was just going to die. So pretty much had to leave him alone and deal with him in other ways. Very, very frustrating, very toxic. Put in the comments below, let him know that he is an evil person for putting things like that into his deck. Gross. Disgusting. Next, Enthrall to the Pit. 4 mana with Kicker 3. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. If the spell was kicked, sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So it can give you control of a creature and be removal all for 1. Act of Treason, 3 mana. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. So you can grab your opponent's biggest threat and then be able to use it to swing on them. Brain Freeze for 2 mana. Target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. There's a few cards that we want into our graveyard, so you could do this on yourself, or you could do it against an opponent. It has Storm. If you've cast enough other spells with all this mana that you have, you could potentially mill someone out that way. Speaking of milling, Sewer Necropolis for 4 mana. It's as Sewer Necropolis enters the battlefield, choose a player. Sewer why was I saying Necropolis? It's Nemesis. I am a clown. Sewer Nemesis enters the battlefield. Choose a player. Sewer Nemesis power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in that player's graveyard. Whenever the chosen player casts a spell, that player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. So again, a little bit of mill theme going on there. Choose yourself, choose an opponent, decide what you want to do. Angel of Suffering, also mill. Flying, 5/3. If damage would be dealt to you, prevent that damage and mill twice that many cards. So with what he has in the deck, it kind of makes sense that you might want to choose yourself in some of these situations to do that milling, because we have quite a bit of recursion as well. Rise from the Tides says create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. You're obviously going to have a lot of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. But the recursion, like I said, we do have quite a few ways to get cards back from our graveyard. And that's why milling isn't really a problem. It's really an alternate way of getting the cards we need into your graveyard and then bringing them back to the battlefield instead of having to use a tutor. We have Underworld Breach for 2 mana. It's technically an enchantment. It says each non-land card in your graveyard has escape. The escape cost is equal to the card's mana cost plus exile 3 other cards from your graveyard. I say technically because it also says at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. So most likely you'll only have this for 1 turn. Necromancy, there's a lot of cards in this deck with very, very old language on it. Basically, it says that you can bring a card from your graveyard back to the battlefield. Another one similar to that is Animate Dead, which, again, a lot of words, but basically says bring a creature back to the graveyard. Just makes it a little less strong. Reanimate for 1 mana. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. No One Left Behind, normally for 5 mana, but costs 3 less to cast. If target creature card with mana value 3 or less, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Zombify for 4 mana. It says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exhume for 2 mana. Each player chooses a creature card in his or her graveyard and puts that creature into play. Yes, you are helping your opponents, but again, depending on where in the game you play this and what your opponents have in the graveyard, it could help you a lot more if you're set up right. Stitch Together for 2 black. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. However, you can return that card from your graveyard to play if 7 or more cards are in your graveyard. So again, if you're milling yourself out, if you're putting quite a bit into your graveyard, you can just get that back onto the battlefield for only 2 mana. Persist for 1 and a black. Return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Slight nerf, but worth it for 2 mana. All of this is, again, really good for... We have a couple creatures that we really use to combo off of. This isn't a very creature-heavy deck. There's only a few creatures in this, but we want to make sure that we can either mill into those cards, tutor into those cards, but if our opponents try touching those cards, we have ways to make sure that we will always have them or can get them back. Last, I have the Cruelty of Grixis. I don't know how to pronounce things. I was not built for this. But it does quite a bit for 5 mana. It's an enchantment saga. Step 1. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a creature or planeswalker card from it. That player discards that card. Cool. Get rid of the worst thing that your opponent was planning on playing. That was a tongue twister. 2. Search your library for a card. Put that card into your hand and shuffle. You lose 3 life. It's a tutor. Really? It's tutoring too? All for 5 mana? This thing is crazy. Step 3. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. This just did everything that we wanted. We want to tutor. We want to put stuff back onto the battlefield. That did it all for 5 mana. Love that. Speaking of tutoring, though, like I promised, we do have quite a few tutors in this deck. Wishman Talisman for 2 mana. It enters with three wish counters on it. Pay 1, tap, remove a wish counter from it, search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle. An opponent gains control of this artifact. Yes, you are allowing your opponents to tutor for a card. Yes, there's a chance they're going to use it to tutor for a card, but still think about it. You're one step ahead. You know exactly what you're tutoring for. You have your combo. You have a few different combos you can draw from. You are looking for something specific. Even though you're passing this on, which is a downside, your opponent is then having to try to search through their deck to come up with a response to handle you. You have plenty of responses for everything they can possibly do. You got a boatload of counterspells. You'll be fine. They're one step behind you. It's worth the 2 mana. Vampiric Tutor, 1 mana. Search your library for a card, then shuffle your library, put that card on top of it, you lose 2 life. It's one of the best counterspells in the format for a reason. Beseech the Mirror for 4 mana. You can bargain. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token as you cast a spell. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, and shuffle. If it was bargained, you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. If its mana cost is 4 or less. Otherwise, put the exile card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. So, 4 mana, you can either get something into your hand, or if you do have a token or something that you're willing to get rid of, you can tutor and play it for free, get one of your combos for free. That is insane. That is how you can win, turn 2, turn 3. Scheming Symmetry for 1 mana. Choose 2 target players. Each of those players search their library for a card, shuffles their library, and puts that card on top of it. So again, similar to the wish thing, Wishclaw Talisman. You know what you're looking for. Your opponent is not going to be in as good of a position. You'll be able to value off of that more. Or you could, have one of do some bargaining with it. Be like, hey, I will allow you to tutor for something if you don't hit me for a turn or whatever. Be smart with it. Solve the Equation. 3 mana. Says search your library for an instant or sorcery card. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. Then shuffle. Beseech the Queen. You can either do it for 6 mana or 3 black. Search your library for a card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control. Reveal it. Put in your hand. Then shuffle your library. Entomb, 1 mana. Search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. That's nice because, again, obviously we have a billion different ways to get things out of our graveyard. Demonic Tutor, 2 mana. Good grief. I don't even want to know how much this man spent on this deck. I am feeling very poor right now. Search your library for 1 card, take it into your hand, reshuffle your library afterwards. Very old text on that OG copy of Demonic Tutor. Mystical Tutor for only 1 blue mana. Search your library for an instant or sorcery card, reveal it, shuffle, put that card on top. And last we have Profane Tutor. No mana cost, but you suspend for 2 mana with 2 time counters on it, and then when the time counters are gone, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, then shuffle. So, you're probably thinking to yourself right now, Isaac, why did we have 10 billion ways to tutor, 10 billion ways to return stuff from our graveyard? What are we doing with all of that? I'm glad you asked. We finally get into the most important part of the deck, winning the game. There's a couple different ways that we can go about this. First, he does have an Aetherflux Reservoir. So, with some of the Storm things, there were a couple cards in there that he has Storm, a couple different ways that you can play quite a few spells, and even just having an Aetherflux Reservoir on the battle in the first place, yes, it does make you a threat. It's a threat for removal, but it's going to get you a lot of life. You get a lot of value, especially, again, in a deck like this where you're casting so many cheap instants and sorceries. You can build that up and then take somebody out with that damage. Otherwise, the other ways of going about this, again, the whole mill theme plays into this heavily. There is Doomsday for 3 mana. It says pay half your life, round it up, put your graveyard on top of your library, on top of your library, remove all but 5 cards from your library from the game, put the rest on top of your library in any order. So basically, you play this and it drops you down to 5 cards left in your graveyard or in your library to draw from. Tainted Pact for 2 mana. Exile top card of your library. You may put that card into your hand unless it has the same name as another card exiled this way. Repeat this process until you put a card into your hand or you exile 2 cards with the same name, whichever comes first. A couple different things you could do with that. Again, this is a singleton format. This is Commander that we're talking about. You're not going to have 2 cards with the same name. He does have the 3 basic lands, 1 of each type, so you can pick one of those lands that you already have played, or make sure that 1 is out, and then you play this card, and now you're not going to be able to get the second one. That will clear out your library. These cards that I'm covering right now, these are all multiple ways to get your library down to 0. That's what we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to clear out our library. Demonic Consultation. For 1, again, it does the same thing. You name a card, you remove cards until you get a card that has that name. You can name a card that's not even in your deck. You can name a frickin', I don't know, Hydra or something. You could name an Eldrazi. You could name whatever you want to name, as long as it's a card, and then you search your library and go, oh shoot, I don't have it. I have to remove my whole library from the game. What a darn shame. Thought Lash for 4 mana. It says cumulative upkeep, remove top card of your library from the game. If you do not remove your library from the game and bury Thought Lash. So that right there can take out your entire library, or you can pay 0, remove the top card of your library from the game to prevent 1 damage to you. You can just pay 0 over and over and over again and remove all the cards from your library. Divining Witch, 2 mana. This is a creature version of the cards that we've been through before. Basically, you're just naming a card and then trying to find it, and then lo and behold, you can't find that card. Last, we have Leveler for 5 mana. When it comes into play, remove your library from the game. All right, cool. So there are 5 or 6 different ways. Let's get your library down to 0, and then here's how we win from there. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, 4 mana. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. It does other things, but that is the main thing. You have that on the battlefield, you clear out your library, you go draw a card, you won the game. Laboratory Maniac, 3 mana for this old boy. It says if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. And last but not least, the crown gem of this deck, probably the most used combo card, especially in competitive Magic, so I'm sure you're not going to be shocked when you see Thassa's Oracle. Duh. You had to expect it. You had to have seen it coming. Thassa's Oracle, one of the strongest win cons in the game. That's how this deck rolls. You got multiple different ways of doing it, but at the end of the day, pretty much what you're trying to accomplish is get that deck out of here, get a win con on the table, boom, game over. Like I said, I have seen this deck pop off like that. It is going to win so many games, and at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Yeah, you're there to spend time with your friends, but and I know we're all there just to win the game. That being said, let me know what you think about this deck. Go ahead and put in the comments below if there's any changes you would make to the card, or different cards that you would put in this deck. We bring you new videos, new deck builds, new thoughts on the format every single Friday. You're not going to want to miss it, so subscribe, ring the bell notification, like the video, and we'll see you guys next time.